Game 6 Klay. If he shows up, the Western Conference Finals are in the bag. Vengeance on LeBron James for 7 years ago when he came back from a 3-1 deficit to break the Warriors' hearts. That can be accomplished. Friday night, baby. It's going to be huge, and we're going to discuss it next. This is Locked On Warriors.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Tonight's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. And folks, specifically Dub Nation, LA is not that far away. And if you want tickets for Game 6 to represent Dub Nation, Gametime is the app for you. They're all about getting you tickets with a low price guarantee. Go down there, make some noise. Game 6 is going to be huge. Good evening, everyone. I'm Cyrus Saatsaz, your host. You can follow me on Twitter at DogSurfRoadshow. Look, you can't really get overly excited about this game. This was a game that, in all likelihood, the Warriors were going to win. There are the defending world champions, and defending champions do not roll over in game 5s at home down 3-1. But damn, was there a lot of good things to take away from this game. I've emphasized this on the show repeatedly, and I'll say it again. I do believe strongly the Golden State Warriors are the better team. If both teams are in perfect circumstances, meaning you get the best possible output from both the Warriors and the Lakers in one game, 9 times out of 10, the Warriors win. But they've been shooting themselves in the foot. Turnovers, poor shot selection, poor minute distribution has put them in this 3-1 hole. And a lot of those mistakes that they've been making, thank goodness they corrected tonight. There's a lot to get to in terms of what went right and what went wrong, which is very little. A lot went wrong for the Lakers. I guess first things first, a play of massive consequence was Kevon Looney and his like hands of steel, hands of iron made from forged from a dead star. Well, dude, his hands are incredible. He's the best rebounder in the NBA for a very good reason. He's a tough as nails individual. And hello everyone to the chat as well. Again, I'm going to answer all chat questions in segment 3. But Kevon Looney inadvertently made contact with Anthony Davis, and more specifically, the side of Anthony Davis' face. It looked like he hit him right either at the temple or in the upper jaw area. That is usually a spot where in boxing, folks get knocked out, like concussion style. And Anthony Davis was borderline knocked out. Reports indicate that after he was escorted to a room at Chase Center, we weren't really specified what this room is, for an examination. From there, he was in a wheelchair with a towel over his head, escorted by Rob Pelinka and other high-profile individuals with the Lakers, escorted to the locker room. We have no idea, obviously, at this point, what the status is. We have no idea what's going to happen with Anthony Davis. But I'll tell you this. If Anthony Davis is not 100% for Game 6, if Anthony Davis doesn't play in Game 6, Lakers are screwed. I mean, Anthony Davis is everything for the Los Angeles Lakers. Look, LeBron James is still a phenomenal player, one of the greatest ever, but 38 going on 39-year-old LeBron James, that is not the LeBron James the Warriors saw in the NBA Finals. He's not going to carry the Lakers to victory in Game 6. If the Lakers are going to win, they need Anthony Davis. And again, Kevon Looney there was no intent there in any regard in terms of the contact made to Anthony Davis's head. But nonetheless, it happened. And injuries are part of the game. And, it's again, it's not something I hope anyone wishes for or hopes for. But as of right now, Anthony Davis, his status cannot be looking great unless this was just one massive ruse. And I pray that's not the case. I mean, that's like some conspiracy theory stuff. But Anthony Davis right now, if he's not 100% or close to it for Game 6, they're screwed. I mean, that is like an absolute massive bonus for the Golden State Warriors going into that game. But I got to focus first and foremost on what the Warriors did tonight that let them beat the Lakers in a game that I thought went really close to plan for the Warriors, in the sense that by not blowing them out, by keeping this game close, you force the Lakers to constantly try. And what I mean by that is they were giving it their all. In the last round, the Lakers played the Memphis Grizzlies, and in similar fashion, they were up 3-1. And game 5 was in Memphis. And that in that game, the Lakers rolled over. The Lakers did not roll over tonight. LeBron James played 39 minutes, scoring 25 points, grabbing 9 boards. Again, that's not what LeBron James of 5-10 years ago would do. LeBron James of 5-10 years ago playing 39 minutes in a series like this would probably put 50 points. He was held to 25 points tonight, 9 of 17 shooting. He hit those 3 early threes, which at first made, I think, a lot of people a little worried, but then the 3 stopped falling. But with LeBron playing 39 minutes, and this series at the pace that it's going right now, every other day, that's not good news for the Lakers. That's great news for the Golden State Warriors. And even though Anthony Davis played 32 minutes tonight, again, he might be dealing with a concussion. And I really hope the Lakers don't try to hide a concussion just to have him play in Game 6. That would be ugly, but that's total conspiracy stuff there I'm not going to delve into. But the Lakers played a lot of their players heavy minutes. Austin Reeves, who has become Captain Tryhard for the Los Angeles Lakers, and that dude flops like a pancake, man. That dude, I don't know. He annoys me at this point, just because there was one play where he egregiously tried to sell a foul that did not happen at all. Steve Kerr alluded to this gamesmanship from the Los Angeles Lakers pertaining to flopping, pertaining to drawing fouls. I've never been a fan of that. James Harden used to pull that crap on the Warriors, and now we're seeing it from the Lakers tonight. And Austin Reeves was one of those players, but he played 35 minutes and change. Dennis Schroeder played 28 minutes and change. Lonnie Walker, who turned into Sleepy Floyd of 1987 in that fourth quarter in the previous game, he played 28 minutes in tonight's game. By the way, it was a shell of himself tonight. He was just 2 for 6 in the field, finished with 4 points. Sort of expected, given it's a road game. He's a role player, and role players play night and day better at home versus on the road. But nonetheless, the Lakers tried tonight. They gave it a real effort. And there is no infinite amount of energy in any human being. The Lakers, I'm feeling good right now. Okay. Like, if you watch the show if you watch this show after Game 5, obviously there was frustration, disappointment. You don't want to see your team go down 3-1, especially when they're making mistakes that are correctable. But I don't think anyone with the Warriors, I don't think anyone covering the Warriors has waved any kind of white flag. I mean, this team has dealt, I think, with harder circumstances. 2016 being down 3-1 to the OKC Thunder, I think, was a much more difficult obstacle for the Golden State Warriors than this Lakers team being down 3-1. But the idea of getting revenge on LeBron James for that 3-1 deficit, just the fact that that is a real possibility, is tantalizing. And one thing that the Golden State Warriors did tonight, I actually took a bunch of notes here highlighting some of the things that I saw that were just absolutely phenomenal. And I got to give my kudos to Steve Kerr for making the proper adjustments. Adjustment number 1, Gary Payton II. He actually played most of the game. Gary Payton II is a totally essential player in this series for the Golden State Warriors. The move to start him in Game 4 was huge. That was a lineup that, I emphasized in the last show was a lineup that is effective. And yet, for some reason, in Game 4, Steve Kerr only played Gary Payton II, I think, 2 minutes in the fourth quarter. And again, the last player I want to be critical of is Moses Moody, who ended up getting those minutes instead. Maybe Moody should have stayed, and maybe someone else should have sat. But Gary Payton II should not have been sitting in Game 4. And Steve Kerr, thankfully, was aware of that, corrected that mistake. We saw Gary Payton II playing pivotal minutes tonight, playing heavy minutes tonight. And I have to tip my cap to Gary Payton II, who had a solid game for the second game in a row. This is the same player, by the way, that early in the series was entirely out of the rotation. And now he is a pivotal part of this series. And tonight, 27 minutes, he was 4 for 5 from the field. And here's one thing about Gary Payton II offensively that is not emphasized enough, but this is truth in terms of his game. The dude can finish, okay? He's not a playmaker in the sense that if you give him the ball, he's not going to, blow by people with, mind-blowing handles. He doesn't create his own shot. But he understands Steve Kerr's offensive system. He's impeccable when it comes to timing. He's exactly at the right place at the right time for passes, for shots, and he can finish. All right. And not a lot of Warriors players are great when it comes to finishing at the basket. Gary Payton II is one of those players who is. And in those 27 minutes, again, he went 4 for 5. He also hit a 3. He only put up 2 3-point attempts, which goes to show that he's a smart, efficient 3-point shooter. He's not a chucker. He shoots when he's wide open, and he shoots when he's comfortable. And he was 50% from a 3-point. He was also 4 for 5 from the free throw line. That means he got 5 free throw attempts. That was one of the many reasons why the Warriors won tonight, by the way. The referees, who have been just ridiculously involved in this series, were not involved tonight. Both teams were completely even in their free throw attempts, 15 apiece. This is what happens when it's an evenly and fairly called game. The Warriors come out on top when the referees give the other team 20 more free throws, which we've seen in this series on more than one occasion in 2 games. The other team's probably going to win because that's a ton of free points. And every time you shoot free throws, you get to set up your defense on the other side of the court. So the Warriors can't push it on them and pressure the defense. It is such a ridiculous advantage when you're getting 20 more free throw attempts in a game. Tonight, it was even at 15. Gary Payton II had 5 of those free throw attempts, making 4 of them for 80%. He also grabbed 6 rebounds. He had 1 steal. And in 27 minutes of play, he had 2 turnovers. You can live with that. He led the Golden State Warriors tonight in plus minus with 25. He scored 13 points. This comes off the 15 he scored in game 4. So kudos, massive kudos to Steve Kerr for realizing and understanding that Gary Payton II is a pivotal part of this team. Bravo. And he's going to have to play big minutes again in game 6. And the biggest game of the year by far for the Golden State Warriors. Friday night is going to be rocking, folks. I imagine that is the plan for everyone. Get to your TVs, go to your local bar, go to your whatever your routine is to watch the Warriors. You're definitely planning that Friday night to watch the biggest game of the season for the Warriors. That game 6 is going to be massive. And game 6, Klay, I'm going to talk about him when we come back. If he shows up, if the version we saw in game 2 of Klay Thompson shows up, the Warriors are coming home for game 7 and wiping this Lakers team off the map. And we'll talk about this so much more in just a moment. I got to give some love to one of our sponsors, Gametime. And Gametime, again, is awesome. I talked about them a lot in the Sacramento series because the Warriors, if there's anything that's been really lucky for them, it's that their 2 opponents so far in the playoffs are both in California. It's really easy travel. It's not that far. LA is close. And folks, if you want to get tickets to go watch the Warriors play in LA, to watch them hopefully win the biggest game of the season, it could go down as one of the biggest games in this franchise's history. Check out Gametime. Besides everything else, just the fact that you can find actual tickets on the app. It's an easy to use app. They also have a low price guarantee. What that means is that if you buy your tickets from Gametime and then you happen to see the same section and row on another app, on another website with ticket prices lower than what you paid, they will refund the difference. That is literally a low price guarantee. So you can forget about planning months in advance to buy your tickets. Gametime has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Warriors-Lakers Game 6 is on Friday, May 12th. Download the Gametime app right now, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for joining the program. Thank you for being a part of Locked On Warriors. Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. Every day is tomorrow on the show, Howard Beck of Sports Illustrated, the New York Times, He's now a contributor for the Locked On Podcast Network. He's going to join me tomorrow to talk Warriors-Lakers. He covered the Lakers for a long time, wrote a book about them. That should be a very fun conversation. So subscribe to the show. And that's what's coming up next. Howard Beck. I'm really stoked about that. But going back to the game, so Klay Thompson, and I'm seeing in the chat here at least one person saying, "Hey, let's not put too much pressure on Klay." Look, man, Klay is made for this. All right, Klay's a 4-time world champion. If anyone can handle pleas and calls and borderline prayers for Game 6 Klay to make an appearance, he can handle it. Okay, he's a big boy. He's going to be okay. Klay Thompson, if Game 6 Klay shows up, and it's completely set up for him, by the way. I mean, again, just that the Warriors, that 3-1 deficit eats at their minds. You know that even though they beat LeBron twice after that and got 2 titles, they're aware that Kevin Durant was on that team. They're aware that people are critical and don't give the Warriors core 3 their due because of the fact that Kevin Durant was on the team. You know that deep in their minds, that 3-1 a blown lead still is in there. Wouldn't surprise me if they played some clips of haters, of media talking about that 3-1 blown lead from years ago to motivate themselves for these remaining games. It would not surprise me because Steph, Klay, and Dre are that demented where they literally will elicit that kind of negativity to motivate them and bring the anger out from inside. But Klay tonight was not great. He played the second most minutes after Stephen Curry. Steph played 39 minutes tonight. He shot an even 50% from the field. If there's one thing Stephen Curry can do in this series is penetrate, is finish at the rim. Dennis Schroeder has no shot in hell of stopping Stephen Curry. So Steph, again, he forced a lot of threes in Game 4. He put up 14 three-pointer attempts, if I'm not mistaken. Was it 14 or 12? Regardless, a little less than that tonight. He had he made 3 3-pointers on 11 attempts. So he was 3 for 11. His 3-point shot is still struggling, but he also is very aware of the fact that he can finish. And he had 24 field goal attempts total. 13 of them were 2-point attempts, meaning and a lot of those were like fadeaways. A lot of those were mid-range. Those shots were falling and they were looking good. So Steph finished tonight 12 of 24 from the field total. Again, 3 for 11 from beyond the arc. So if you take those 3-point shots away, he was 9 for 13 from the field. I mean, he was incredibly efficient and he can score at will. There is no one on the Lakers who can just stop Stephen Curry. So what they can do when Steph starts penetrating a lot and causing havoc, which he does in the paint, is they can start doubling him. And what Steph has become very cognizant of, which is brilliant, is the moment he sees those double teams, he's passing the ball to a cutter. And the Warriors are cutting. And before I'm going to get to that in a second, one of the big reasons why the Warriors tonight, besides Gary Payton II, there were a lot of reasons, is the fact that they remember to shoot 2-point shots. In the playoffs, you don't win with a 3-point shot in the playoffs. In the postseason, 3-point shots just don't fall. There's too much pressure. Defense is tight. Bob Myers has alluded to this, how defenders are suddenly right up to your face with every 3-point shot contesting it, and fouls are not called as much in the postseason as they are in the regular season. You can't count on the 3-point shot alone to win a title. It doesn't work that way. The Warriors, even though their image, their brand is the Splash Brothers, is hitting threes, when it comes to postseason success, they're all about assists. They're all about finding the easiest basket imaginable, and they've forgotten that. And tonight they remembered. I'm gonna break some of those numbers down in just a second. But Klay Thompson had the second most minutes tonight. He played 37 minutes. I thought his defense was good. He was matched up with LeBron James a lot. He held his own better than he has in previous games. But this series has been a struggle for him. With the exception of Game 2, he just has not been scoring well. He hasn't been shooting well. At least his 3-point attempts were down tonight. He finished the game 2 for 6 from beyond the arc. Those 2 that he made were huge. Woke the crowd up. And look, 2 for 6 is 33%. It's not the end of the world. But he finished the game 3 of 12 from the field with just 10 points. Did have 6 rebounds to go along with 2 assists. Had 2 blocks, alluding to the defense. I can't remember if one of those was on LeBron or not. But so he had 2 blocks. He was at least contributing in ways besides hitting 3-point shots. He had a steal as well. Only committed one foul, which is huge because the fouls have been a massive issue for the Warriors. But Game 6 Klay, I mean, it really is that simple. If we see the Klay Thompson that we saw in 2016 against the Thunder, if we saw the Game 6 Klay that we saw last year against the Grizzlies, and last year against the Celtics, although that one was okay, it wasn't great. They're winning. They're winning in LA. The Warriors had to win a game in LA one way or another. I know technically they had home court advantage, but in the world of reality, if you're a pragmatic individual, you knew they were probably going to drop one game at home and they'd have to win one game on the road. And this is it. Game 6 is it. And there's a lot of demons that can be ripped right off their backs if they win that game and go on to finish the series at home in Game 7 because of that 3-1 deficit that they blew, or that lead, 3-1 lead that they blew back in 2016. Man, that haunts them. If you're a member of Dub Nation, that haunts you. The Warriors are 2 wins away now from vanquishing that vile demon that has lingered for so many years. And Game 6 Klay, I mean, the ball's in his hands. I do appreciate, again, the fact that he was more efficient tonight, meaning he wasn't hoisting as many threes. Again, 33%, you can live with that. 33% shooting from three is the equivalent of 50% from two. You can live with that. That's fine. And he shot 33% from beyond the arc tonight. If we see Game 6 Klay, it's over, LA. It's going down. That simple. But I got to emphasize again the fact that the Warriors attacked the paint. They remembered, oh yeah, like 2-point shots, easy shots are how you win in the postseason. And the Warriors have been fantastic in terms of points in the paint. Tonight, they only lost that battle by 2. There were 25 of 41 from inside the paint, scoring 50 points to the Lakers 52. That's marvelous. They absolutely were successful in that regard. They were successful in terms of rebounding when we're talking about the inside. They won that battle tonight, 48-38. They won the offensive rebounding battle 9-7. So they took care of business. They really did. And so you got to give kudos again to the coaching staff for emphasizing and effectively teaching the players that they don't need to hoist dumb three-pointers to win. And they didn't tonight. They had 92 field goal attempts, which is, I got to pull up what the totals were in Game 4. I was doing this as a comparison earlier, but they had more field goal attempts tonight, and they had less three-point attempts tonight than they did in Game 4. In Game 4, here I have the box score right here now. Sorry about that. In Game 4, the Warriors put up a total of 86 field goal attempts. Tonight, they put up 92. That means they had 6 more shots than they did in Game 4. And whether that came from more efficient rebounding, whether that came from turnovers, that's a good sign. Okay, I'd like to have 6 more field goal attempts than you did in Game 4 where you lost was huge. It was a difference maker. But what they also did was in Game 4, they had 41 three-point attempts. That's a lot. Tonight, they had 35. So, and they shot 37.1% from beyond the arc. They played smart. They played the style of basketball that wins championships. And in Game 4, where they only shot 29.3% from three, again, they improved that number by nearly 8%. Another thing that Steve Kerr did that I have to give him absolute credit for. This was, look, Steve Kerr, bravo. His failing in this series, I feel, largely has been a lack of in-game adjustments. He usually makes these adjustments like in between and then just lives or dies with these decisions. But regardless, the adjustment was huge. And these were fundamental adjustments. Another big one was remembering that you need size to win. In Game 4, the Warriors had 12 minutes total in terms of bigs playing outside of Draymond Green. Draymond Green's going to get his minutes, all right? And Draymond Green, I'm going to give him his kudos in just a second. He played in nearly 30 minutes, was aggressive, especially on the offensive side, but also on the defensive side. The broadcasters were sharing this anecdote from the game where the referees, one of the officials supposedly came up to Dre and said, quiet down. They thought he was talking too much. And he said, no, I'm not going to. Draymond's response was, the Lakers are jawing, and this is my game. I'm not going to stop being who I am. And thankfully, the officials did not punish him for that. And he was naturally himself. He was aggressive on the offensive side. He started the game with a 3-point shot. It's always a good sign when Dre hits a three. Finished the game shooting 7 of 11 from the field. He had those 2 3-point attempts. Both were in the first quarter. One, I believe, were the first 3 points for the Golden State Warriors. And then he put his second one up right after that, missed, and decided I'm done with the 3-point shots for the game. So he shot 50% from the field. He was 7 for 11 total from the field. He was 50% from 3. I'm sorry. He was a perfect 5 for 5 in terms of free throws. That's what happens when you attack. You also get fouled. You draw fouls. When you settle for threes, you're letting the other team get away with not playing defense, and they're also attacking your defense in the transition. And so the Warriors, by going with these easy baskets, they were patient, they were smart, and Draymond was a huge catalyst for that. Also grabbed 10 rebounds. He also had 4 assists. But again, Draymond is the big that you're always going to see. There are other bigs on this team, and they need to play. One huge failing in game 4 is that outside of Draymond Green, the only bigs who played were Kevon Looney and JaMychal Green. And they played again a total of 12 minutes. That's not enough. That is not enough. You like Draymond and Wiggins and Steph, all these players, you need bigs to help you, to give you some security defensively, to give you something to fall back on offensively, either for a putback or just for an easy basket. And for some reason, Kerr just abandoned going with any size in game 4. Well, tonight, and I don't know if Kevon Looney's feeling better. I don't know if Steve Kerr just realized, look, we got to play someone else besides Draymond who has size. So even though we didn't see JaMychal Green, and even though Jonathan Kuminga only played garbage time at the very end, what Kerr did do in this game is double Looney's minutes from game 4. He played 20 minutes tonight. It was an impactful 20 minutes. Never mind the fact that he smacked Anthony Davis in the head. Again, that was not intentional. It looked just really random. It didn't look like a kind of hit that would injure someone, but it clearly had an impact. But Looney was also huge, and I have to give Kerr respect for playing Looney 20 minutes. Looney did have an impact on both sides of the floor. Only had 4 points, but you don't really count on him for scoring. But he did have 8 rebounds in those 20 minutes and a block shot. So kudos to Kerr again for another subtle yet very brilliant move, giving Kevon Looney minutes. And those are ultimately the factors I thought that led to victory for the Warriors tonight. Yeah, I agree. 49ers minded. I want to get to the chat now here, and I started a few of them from earlier. 49ers minded writes, can't stand Reeves, referring to Austin Reeves. The refs treat him like a Hall of Famer. Yeah, he is to me is the epitome of a tryhard. He's someone who is Johnny Hustle, but he also flops a lot. That's the part that really bugs me. There's just nothing ethical about flopping. I'm old enough to remember an NBA where flopping was not a thing, and we used to ridicule soccer players for that. And now, unfortunately, in the NBA, it's like everywhere. But Adrian Gutierrez writes, the Warriors going bigger was a great move. 100% agree. And it was very subtle. The only thing they did was just play Looney more. That's fine. You need size. 12 minutes 12 minutes total for your bigs outside of Draymond Green in game 4. That's asinine. This Lakers team is punishing the Warriors inside. They need help. And yeah, Mordigan, I did see that as well, that what Darvin Ham said, that Anthony Davis seems to be doing really good already. Again, and I hope there's nothing shicey going on there. We saw a lot of shiciness from the Sacramento Kings in the last round. I'm just really hoping that's not what's going on here. It did look real. Comet with a K writes, hey, Cyrus, after 2 years without significant injuries, Kuminga seems to be playable in the playoffs. What went wrong? Great question. No one has a clear answer for that. One of Steve Kerr's infamous deflections when he doesn't want to answer a question is to use the word matchups. And that's what he said tonight. Or not tonight, but he said that recently when asked about Kuminga and why he's not seeing a run. He claims that Kuminga is a victim of matchups in this series, and that's why he's not playing. I don't agree with that at all. I think Kuminga has earned his way. But look, the Warriors won tonight, so I'm not going to be negative or overly critical. But I will say this. Jonathan Kuminga, a lot of people have criticized him for not making the best of his garbage time minutes. Well, the last 2 games he has. Tonight, he immediately put up a shot. I believe the first or second possession the Warriors had when they took out all the regulars and made it. He was a perfect 2 for 2 from the field. One of those 2 shots was a 3-pointer. He nailed that, got a rebound, scored 5 points in 2 minutes. In game 4 when he came in, or was it game no, not game 4. It was game 3. I'm sorry. Let me go to that game real quick. When he played in game 3, a garbage time, he was actually incredibly efficient. I need to pull that up right now real fast. And again, that was a game where he saw a significant run because the Warriors just got blown out. And so Kuminga played, I think, 8 or 9 minutes in the fourth quarter. And in that game, he was 3 for 4 from the field. He had a perfect 1 for 1 from 3. I never understand the criticism of his shot. I think his shot is beautiful. I've said that his form is identical to Jimmy Chitwood from the movie Hoosiers. I don't know what that shot's based on, that form, but it reminds me a lot of that. But Kuminga in those 9 minutes in game 3 scored 10 points. Again, was 3 for 4 from the field, got 2 free throw attempts, or 2 trips to the line, 4 free throw attempts, made 3 of them. I do not understand what's going on with that. That's been a point of my ire this whole year. If you watch the show consistently, you heard me all season long say, not happily, that Moses Moody should be playing. Moses Moody missed 19 games, whether it was for DNPs or to be sent down to Santa Cruz. I did not understand that decision. I did not. I never got it then. And now you're seeing how well Moody can play. He's a baller. Moses Moody's going to be Klay Thompson's replacement someday. I never understood that. What is up? 49ers minded again. Iano 25. Look, I'm trying to be positive here. All right. I've been pretty critical of Kerr this year. I want to give him his due when he does things right. I agree that the adjustments, the decisions do seem obvious, but the fact that he's avoiding the obvious oftentimes makes me that grateful when he actually does make the right call. So anyway, yeah, I really do wish that Kuminga would play, but at least Kevon Looney got his run. I want to see if there's any real quick, couple more chat here that I wanted to that I highlighted from earlier. Joe, who you and I seem to always agree on everything. That how ironic is it that Gary Payton II, Andrew Wiggins, who had a great game, I'm going to give him his due in a second as well. Moses Moody, all hustling, all fresh legs, and they pay off. Yeah, what a shock, right? Big surprise. Adrian Gutierrez earlier wrote, I can't watch game 6, too nerve-wracking. Yeah, absolutely. That's what alcohol's for. That's going to be a crazy one. Game 6 is, that's the season. That's the season right there. Everything that has happened this year comes down to game 6 in LA. The Warriors had to win a road game. It's here. It's in front of them. I've been saying nonstop that the Golden State Warriors are the better team. I did a new episode of the Rick Barry Show yesterday with the Hall of Famer, one of the most brilliant minds in basketball, besides being one of the greatest players ever. And we were talking about that just how big game 6, the magnitude of it. We had a great show, by the way. I strongly recommend checking that out. Rick Barry's House on YouTube, or download the Mic'd Up app. That's where we do all our live shows. There was another reason why I brought up Rick, but I forgot now. My brain farted. Ooh, ouch. Tanner Jack. That is some very bad language, man. We got to block you for that. You can't be using the C word in the chat. Sean Stanley writes, believe that is the key to winning games 6 and 7. Well, yeah, you got to have faith. Absolutely. Joe writes, Dre's 5 turnovers need to come down, not force feeding the interior. Good point. Dre's always been like a turnover machine. It's one of those things where you live with that a lot of the time, but you're right. 5 is a lot. Fortunately, the Warriors finished the game with 14 turnovers total, which equaled what the Lakers had. And again, when the Warriors don't kill themselves, they win. When the Warriors don't have officials against them, they win. And that's what happened tonight. So that's absolutely awesome. Joshua Jensen, I'm going to try to get to all these chats now. We got a few minutes remaining here. Right. Oh, Dylan Verano writes, we're due for a vintage game 6 Klay performance. You're absolutely right. And he has a chance to make up for that debacle last series against the Kings. Game 6 Klay, I thought, was RIP after that. We have a chance. He has another chance now to make good on that. Jill Espina, you are absolutely correct. There is pressure on the Lakers. I know this is a must win for the Warriors. I understand if they lose, they go home. But if the Lakers lose, they're blowing a 3-1 lead. They're going back to San Francisco for game 7. They're not winning that game. They're not going to win game 7. So their season is on the line as well. And the difference is they're facing the pressure of blowing a 3-1 lead. Please make that happen, Golden State. Please. So I'm totally with you on that. Ken Mamba writes, if given the opportunity, would you start Moody over Klay? No, only because at this point of the season, I don't think it's the right time to take Klay out of the starting lineup. but I would limit his minutes more. I would give Moody more of a shot during the game. I'd even contemplate maybe not finishing the game with Klay. I mean, it just all depends. But at this point of the season, I mean, that would be such an earth-shaking move. And Steve Kerr is his fear of taking Klay out of the starting lineup. I wonder if part of it has to do with Klay's confidence and how that would affect him mentally. So I just wouldn't want to do that. But I totally am with you in terms of Moody earning minutes. Damian LaRoche writes, E40 should show up in LA and hype the Warriors. Absolutely. Use the Gametime app. Tickets are you get a low price guarantee there. Let's see what else is going on in some more Moody love. Matthew Mohm. Oh, you bring up Jordan Poole. That's a good one. What do you think is wrong with Poole? You know what's interesting? Charles Barkley, notorious Golden State Warriors hater. I think it's mostly a bit. Part of it is genuine, but the genuine part, I don't know the why of that. But he made it a great point, and it's a point that I wholeheartedly agree with. He started talking about Jordan Poole. I think it was in last night's show, or maybe it was today before the game, or it was at halftime, whenever it was. He said that Poole's problem is not that complicated. Poole just routinely takes difficult shots. And I agree. I think Jordan Poole's shot selection is pretty wild. Not in a good way. It's not in a good way. Jordan Poole takes a lot of bad threes, takes a lot of deep threes. And Barkley was specific in terms of the bad shots, where he alluded to contested threes. Because what Jordan Poole did tonight, look, I'm relieved that he didn't have an absolutely abysmal game. It wasn't a great game, but it wasn't horrible. He was 5 for 14 from the field. He was only 1 for 6 from three, but the one he made, he was wide open. And I do really believe that if Jordan Poole stops thinking in his head that he's as good of a shooter as Steph Curry, and he limits his shot selection to smart shots, meaning wide open threes, meaning threes that aren't 30 feet away, but are actually up at the line, threes that don't have a defender or two challenging you in your face. If he stops taking those dumbass threes, he might be okay. Jordan Poole tonight, if you take away the three-point shot, was 4 for 8 from the field. He shot 50%. He attacked the rim, didn't get to the line, oddly, but he had no free throw attempts. But he finished the game with 11 points. He was only a -1 in the plus-minus. By his standards, that's good. Finished the game with 4 assists, so he was getting his teammates involved, had 0 turnovers. So Jordan Poole, again, thank goodness he wasn't a detriment tonight. And I agree with Chuck in terms of his analysis. I think Jordan Poole just needs to stop taking dumb ass shots, plain and simple. And Jill Espina adds to that saying, I think Poole plays better when the Dubs are behind, and when they're leading, the Dubs are bad. Let me see what else in the chat here. Yeah, Joe adding that Jordan Poole has a decent mid-range game. Given we're up against the clock here, I want to give kudos real quick to Andrew Wiggins. The Warriors don't win tonight if they don't have an aggressive version of Andrew Wiggins. And Andrew Wiggins tonight, one of the things I thought was an improvement from what we've seen from him earlier is he wasn't forcing bad threes. I've seen him do that a lot. Tonight, he attacked the paint. His shots were mid-range or close. He finished the game 10 of 18 from the field. A lot of those were post-up moves, like hook shots, floaters, layups. And then from three-point range, he put up 5 three-point attempts and made 2 of them. That's 40%. That's great. Finished the game with 25 points, grabbed 7 rebounds. He had 5 assists. He had a steal, only had 1 turnover. So kudos to Andrew Wiggins. Maybe should have given him love earlier in the show. He was aggressive. He played great defense on LeBron James. And if we see that version of Andrew Wiggins in game 6, that bodes well. But we need to see that for sure. So there we go. I got to balance just because we're up on the clock. But sincerest thanks everyone for joining the chat. Huge win for the Golden State Warriors. Howard Beck joins me tomorrow to preview the biggest game of the year for the Golden State Warriors, and arguably one of the biggest games in this franchise's history. It's the magnitude of it is compelling. It's fascinating, nerve-wracking. But I will say this, Dub Nation, if the Warriors play in LA like they did tonight, there's going to be a game 7, and the Warriors will erase those damn 3-1 demons that have been following us. And when I say us, I mean Dub Nation that's been following the team. So I don't like using we for the Warriors. I don't play on the team, but the potential is there. 1 down, 2 to go, folks. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to go see my boy Larry Krueger. Have a great night. See you Friday. Or actually, see you tomorrow and then Friday night post game. Take care, everyone. Later.